welcome to another episode of Bscene TV. I'm your host, Stephanie Wilson, and we are in beautiful Banff. If you're new to the series, it's all about the second story and getting up close and personal to celebrities you know from TV series, movies, the NHL, CFL, and much more. Get prepared because this is Bscene TV. Today's feature also includes a very special guest whose perseverance, courage, and sense of adventure has led him to the top of a mountain. But not just any mountain, to the top of Mount Everest, which is Earth's highest mountain, standing nearly 30,000 feet tall. But what you might not know is it's also very deadly. Hundreds of mountaineers have attempted to make it to the top, but have never made it down. Our star guest speaker today has lived to tell the tale. Here's a sneak peek.
Have you ever had a dream? A dream so vivid, so real, so powerful, that you thought you actually had experienced it? What do you think it would take to move that dream to a goal? To reality.
I can't go any further. I'm on top of the world.
On May 21st, 2000, Byron Smith completed the ultimate challenge and realized the goal he had set for himself. Byron Smith's See You at the Top is the remarkable story of how one man turned a setback into a success, to literally stand on top of the world. In May of 1998, on the south summit of Mount Everest, just 45 minutes from the top, lack of rope prevented Byron from summiting safely. So he turned back and headed down the mountain, just 270 feet from the summit, completing 99.2% of his goal.
Once I made that decision, there was no looking back on it. I didn't second guess myself. I started heading back down, knowing I was going to return to lead and organize my own expedition and do it the way that I felt it needed to be done.
People from around the world followed the climb on television and on the internet. Using leading-edge technology, Byron transmitted live daily broadcasts, making this the most televised Everest expedition ever. A whole country watched as he and 7 Sherpa reached the top of the world. This was an incredible moment, and it all started with the vision of one man.
This is Byron Smith on top of Mount Everest. Over.
There's a lot of Canadians who are extremely proud of you and very envious too. It's quite an achievement.
Well, I thank you very much. I'm very proud to be Canadian and to have summited this year on Mount Everest.
What a compelling story. Stay tuned for a little later on in the episode to hear the exclusive interview with Byron Smith. Well, coming up next is a very special guest. Of course, a lot of my guests have been authors, but this particular best-selling author on Amazon teaches others how to be bestsellers. Here is Kim Staffland.
Polished Publishing Group started out 5 years ago helping authors to publish professional quality books, so making sure that they go through the same process that a trade publisher would take them through.
So how did you get into that? What inspired you to start writing and start promoting?
I've been writing since I could write. I've had the opportunity not just to work with those traditional trade publishers, but also with vanity publishers and also with hybrid publishers that kind of do a combination of both, which is what Polish Publishing Group is. I'm also a published author of 5 books of my own, so I've got extensive experience in all different areas of this business.
What is one of the examples that you have written that you brought today?
Well, one of the examples that I've written that I brought today is, this is my most recent book, How to Publish a Best-Selling Book, and just kind of in tune with teaching authors how to sell. But this book is especially exciting to me right now because we're launching a brand new service to authors using this book kind of as the guinea pig for this service. We're getting into the $1.3 billion audiobook industry right away. It's in line with what authors are telling me, and they're saying, you know what, it's not enough just to publish this book and just to offer, you know, the worldwide online distribution that we offer. We need somebody to help drive traffic to these e-commerce sites so that we can move more of these books. So the audiobook industry is a fantastic way to do this, because not only can you convert your entire book to audio, but you can just do little audio infomercials, which I've done as the sample for this book, or you can do book trailers and things. So we're getting into all of that, and we're opening that up to all authors, not just Polish Publishing Group authors, but everyone, no matter where you have published your book, we can help you now to market it using audiobooks. I get to see these authors become bestsellers. And we've got a few bestsellers right now, bestsellers on Amazon.com. One of the books that's very close to my heart, Cheryl Bernard and her team, as everyone knows, were at the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, and they took home a silver medal and make all of us very proud doing it in Canada. And we got the opportunity to help Guy Schultz and Cheryl Bernard produce this sports psychology book shortly after they did that. So, and this book is a bestseller on Amazon. But this book also, anyone who is looking at getting an author signed copy from Cheryl, who is a bit of a celebrity here in town, they can go direct to her website to get an author signed copy. So this is an example of a book that we did. She's really smart with the way she's selling her book. She's not just sticking with the online kind of Amazon selling. She actually sells her books at her dog groomer's shop. And she also promotes, this book kind of started with a blog that she does, and she promotes it on Facebook as well. So this is another one of our authors where you can go direct to her site and you can get an author signed copy of her book. Best thing to do is come to the Polish Publishing Group Facebook page, and then we can redirect you to all of these authors. Best advice that I could give them, and I talk about it in detail in both of these books, the How to Publish a Book in Canada book, which is available through Kobo. All of my books are available through Kobo, which you can get through Chapters. And this book as well. The biggest bit of advice that I have to authors is that authors are entrepreneurs. You have to treat book publishing and sales like your own business, no matter if you're in the traditional trade publishing sector or the vanity sector or a hybrid sector like Polish Publishing Group. If you want the best results, you've got to be involved in that. You've got to be the entrepreneur, and we can show you how, and we can show you some really successful tips that can make you a bestseller.
Our upcoming story was a red carpet event and a 007 theme with a good cause. This inspiring story of a young woman who's raising funds to help an entire village in Latin America sustain their own income. Check it out.
I used to love her.
Lewis, the president of Inspiration in Action, and tonight is their annual Christmas fundraiser. And can you tell me a little bit about Inspiration in Action?
Absolutely. Inspiration in Action is a nonprofit organization. I started it about 5 years ago. We focus on sustainable community development projects in rural areas of Latin America and the Caribbean. And every year, for the last few years, we've done a Christmas fundraiser. I'm looking to raise about $3,500. So with that $3,500, about $1,200 will go to the kids' Christmas gifts and the meal. And the rest, I'm trying to repair a local tractor that's been broken down. It's the only source of income for the village. It's been broken down for coming up on 3 years. So the village has no disposal system and also no source of income. Initially, when I first started traveling down, I was inspired by a lot of the children through the art classes that I was working with, and I just kept establishing my organization to be turned into fully sustainable community development projects. So to help an entire community come from just underneath the poverty line up until the middle class. So that's my goal, and it's very dear to me and everybody else that's here to support tonight, including Bscene TV. In Action, I named it just that. Actually, my grandpa named my organization because he was inspired by what I decided to do with the organization. I was inspired by people who are down there, and we're looking to inspire the community in Calgary.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and we wish you great luck in tonight's fundraiser and in any fundraisers you host in the future. Full of music and people dressed to the nines in James Bond attire, with all profits going to children in Latin America getting a good Christmas. If you're interested in getting involved in the cause, go to www.youinspire.net. For Bscene TV, I'm Brittany Broderson.
What a fabulous event, and welcome back Nik Lewis. For the Stan fans out there, you know this is his second time winning the Grey Cup in his career. Of course, Bscene TV is going to talk to him a little bit later about his experience with the Calgary Stampeders and his 2014 Grey Cup win.
But first, we have a special feature on Byron Smith, who climbed to the top of Mount Everest, which is a very dangerous journey.
That's right. Most of us think about the common factors such as temperature and distance, but you might not know details like needing oxygen to finish the climb. With risks like this in mind, a lot could go wrong very fast.
Our next guest is a successful Mount Everest climber who uses his story to inspire others to do great things in life.
We arrived in Kathmandu excited about our journey that lay ahead. From here, we would fly by plane into the mountain village of Lukla and start our 2-week trek to Everest Base Camp. We'd trek north up the glacial-fed Dude-Cozy River Gorge. From here to base camp, we'd climb 1,000 feet per day, and every third day or 3,000-foot gain, take an additional rest day to lessen the likelihood of altitude sickness. Climbing to base camp alone, we'd ascend the height of Everest. And during the whole expedition, we'd climb 150,000 vertical feet, or 28 miles in total.
Climbing a mountain is a challenge in itself, but climbing Mount Everest, classified as the highest mountain in the world, is an extraordinary challenge. With little oxygen, it is ultimately a death trap for many. But our guest star is one part of the elite few who have survived the climb to the top of Mount Everest. Now, 14 years after the climb, he's still a powerful and very successful businessman. Here is Byron Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. So it's been a while since you've climbed to the top of Mount Everest, is that right?
That's correct, Will.
So I can't imagine even attempting something like that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you decided that you were going to climb to the top?
Well, what happened, I think it's through my childhood with my father, who instilled in us children, you know, a sound mind and a sound body, sort of a Greek philosophy, is what's going to take you through this world. So physical times in our life were a big part of our life, going out to the mountains at a young age, climbing on hills, mountains, and rock. And my father instilled in us that the outdoors is what's going to allow us to feel ourselves and to be part of nature within ourselves. So what instilled in me climbing Mount Everest was I was always on top of buildings and trees as a young child, so heights were never a problem. I'd lie on the grass looking up at the clouds and seeing little dots up in the sky flying around, which were birds, and I wished that I had their vision of what they were looking at from up top looking down. And in 1976, I read John Hunt's book about the 53 Everest expedition, of which Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay became the first people to climb Everest. And after reading that book, I visualized and dreamt that one day I would climb Mount Everest.
What was the climb like? Were you scared? What was going through your minds?
I think when you do thorough planning and preparation, you really do know what's going on and what you're going to be entering into. I wasn't afraid during the climb at all. It was the second time of myself being on Everest, because in 1998 I was there and I was 270 vertical feet short from the summit, less than an hour from the top. So I'd known 99% of what was going to go on in 2000, because I'd already been almost to the top of the world. So no, there was no fear. I think it was just that inner drive to complete my goal is what kept me going.
So what was it like, aside from the temperatures? I know that you have to use oxygen halfway up. Can you describe a little bit more of the process it takes to get to the top?
Well, you have to acclimatize your body, and it's a physiological adaptation that takes place over 3 to 6 weeks. What you're doing is you're producing more red blood cells to carry more oxygen around your system. And some people can never acclimatize to high altitude. Some of the best technical climbers in the world can't get to the top of Everest because of genetics. So what happens is you're taking 2 weeks to get to base camp, and from base camp, once you arrive, you're spending about another week acclimatizing your body as it's going through its stresses of producing more red blood cells. And once you finish your acclimatization at base camp to whatever degree, you start climbing on the mountain, going through the most dangerous part of the mountain, which is the Khumbu Icefall, up to Camp 1. And then from Camp 1, you're going to go up the next day. You'll spend the night at Camp 1, go up to Camp 2 the next day, come back to Camp 1, spend the night, and come back down to base camp, rest, rehydrate, and re-energize, recuperate your body for another 5, 6, 7 days, depending upon the weather, depending upon yourself. And then you're going to go back up onto the mountain, and you'll go up to Camp 2, and you'll spend 4 or 5 days stressing your body, getting used to the altitude, and come back down to base camp. Then you'll come back up to Camp 2, and for a night or two, and go up to Camp 3, which is at about 23,700 feet, which is, 10,000 feet higher than any mountain that we have in our Canadian Rockies. And what we'll do is once you're at Camp 3, that's the highest point that you're going to acclimatize yourself to. Some people, for a psychological reason, might go up to Camp 4, which is at 26,000 feet, and spend the night there and come back down to base camp. Once you've come back down to base camp, you're going to rest, recuperate, rehydrate your body, and you will possibly go back down valley for 4 or 5 days to breathe in thicker, more oxygen-rich air, and then come back up and look for a weather window to do your summit push.
Wow. How long did it take you from the bottom to the top of Mount Everest?
Well, by the time you leave Canada and come back home, it's about 3 months of your life. So you've got 2 months or 2 weeks to trek from Lukla into Everest Base Camp. You can do it in about 8 days if you wish, but what you don't want to do is get sick along the way, because the higher up you get, the more you're just not able to fend off illness and cuts and scrapes and those kinds of things. You need more oxygen-rich air. So 2 weeks to base camp, and then about 2 months on the mountain, and then you got to clear off the mountain, get off the mountain, so which equates to around 3 months of your time.
Okay, so since the climb, you have been working on a lot of your businesses as well, is that correct? So yes. You own Byron Smith Ford, which is in Strathmore. Can you tell us a little bit about your business there? Well, it's 25 years in business. Half my life has gone into the automobile business, and I've been in the industry for about 34 years. So it's a long period of time, and it's something that's I'm as passionate about the automobile business as I am about athletics and about mountaineering. And it's been a job that has allowed me to go and climb the highest mountains in each continent. So it's been very fruitful for me. Wow, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about how you're feeling about your business now, considering that you set your goals very young and you achieved them, and now you only were able to build and expand. At one point I had 2 dealerships, one in Vulcan and the current one in Strathmore. And my son's now in the business, Zach, which I'm very proud of. But, it's a long time in the business, and I've got a lot of things that I do like to do and I want to do. I mean, I'm a huge history fan and cultural fan, and I do like to travel. Having been fortunate enough to be on all 7 continents now, it's very intriguing for me to explore some of the historical content that I've wanted to for my whole life. So where do you see yourself in the future? Where do I see myself in the future? Still achieving, still being a driven, goal-oriented personality, being in love with a lovely lady, and living life and traveling and enjoying everything that I put into my life. Absolutely. So what is one, for my last question, what is one piece of advice to let everybody else know, what is like the secret to success? What is your piece of advice for people striving to be like you? I think that everybody has to find their own niche in life and to figure out what triggers it. But this is one thing that I truly believe in, that you can be and do anything you want in life if you believe in yourself and you want it badly enough. Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us today. To see the full videos of Byron Smith's climb to the top of Mount Everest, go to byronsmith.com. What a remarkable guy. Speaking of which, Nik Lewis is co-hosting with me once again, and right after his Grey Cup win. Congratulations. It was a really, really close game. How did you feel in the 4th quarter? I felt good. I felt confident. Defense, I always said if we have the lead in the 4th quarter, we'll win the game. And I knew they would stand up and do what they had to do. They always say defense wins championships. They definitely won ours. Absolutely. But it was really, really close for the Hamilton. They had a penalty near the end, right before, and Banks had ran all the way from the 10th yard line across the field. How did that look on the bench?
Well, I seen the penalty. Maybe there should have been a couple more on those, but he had one called back the week before, similar situation. So we were confident. He's a great player, but we got the job done. You can't cheat and win.
That's true. So how are you feeling now? What do you feel, especially this being your second Grey Cup?
It's great. You know, the fact that I got to lead a group of men week in and week out, and just show up and just be that rock for the team and just do everything that we needed to do. I feel great that I could lead guys to a championship that have never won one in their life. Some guys were saying they haven't won one since they were in 5th grade or high school and things like that. So amazing accomplishment.
So what has been your overall experience with the Calgary Peters?
Yeah, it's good. You know, we've had our ups and downs. I've had my outlashes and everything, but we've made it work for 11 years, and I owe a lot to the city of Calgary because they have truly accepted me as one of their own, and I thank you, Calgary.
And you also had a remarkable season. 17-3 was your at the end of the season. So can you tell us a little bit how that feels for you?
We have to be mentioned as one of the best teams ever. Coming into training camp this year, looking at the roster, some of the guys that we had on the team, I knew we could have been special, and going through it week after week and winning, even when we lost one that we probably felt like we shouldn't have lost, we just regrouped and went back out there and won again. So we didn't lose 2 in a row, so that's always positive. And
what is the future looking for you?
We don't know yet. We'll see. You know, I'm gonna sit down with Huff and Dave Dickinson next week, and we'll talk about it and see what happens.
Fantastic. Even though the CFL season is all wrapped up, Nik will still be making appearances on Bscene TV. It has been an honor for you to co-host my episode with me.
And I just want to say thank you for allowing me to co-host your episode. And that's it right now for Bscene TV.
If you'd like to share your story, feel free to email us at bscenetv@shaw.ca or find me at Twitter at bscenetv.
And you can find me at NIKEL18 on Twitter.
I'm Will Wilson.
And I'm Nik Lewis. See you next time.